Morocco has always captured my imagination. It could be growing up on classic films like Lawrence of Arabia and Cassablanca, but for whatever reason, I've always wanted to go, and I've never got the chance. So finally in 2018 with my good friend Iain, we carved out one whole week to just lose ourselves in Morocco. From Fez to Rabbat, Cassablanca to Marrakesh. Come join us.
Last night was the first time in a long time on my travels where I've just been totally flabbergasted, lost for words, like culture shock extreme. I mean, it's my first time in Africa. I guess I should have expected it, but I didn't really. We got in and the driver met us and took us out here, which was a great idea because the drivers in Morocco are crazy. And it's just like a different world. Well, if you're used to Europe or America or something like that, it's just a completely different world, and the streets are so narrow. And I think there's the extra added like pressure of potentially getting lost in the Medina because they're very windy streets. So I was completely just like thrown off last night, but today is looking good. It's beautiful, it's daytime, and we're gonna have some delicious breakfast and then hit the road and see what we can find. What's your first impressions of Morocco?
It's an exciting, crazy place. It's busy at 11 p.m. at night. All the kids, all the dads, all having a ball.
Moroccan breakfast was one of the constant sources of joy and anticipation for both Iain and I on this trip. Reminiscent of Spanish tapas in its construction, it consists of several different dishes, both hot and cold, served with a combination of at least 2 or 3 beverages, including the famous mint tea.
What'd you think?
Minty.
Is it good?
Very minty.
Is it sweet?
It's not sweet as say. Jumping on mint.
Whoa.
Before we proceed, I think it only fair to warn you. This adventure was planned, if you want to call it that, with a very Bedouin hippie mindset. We didn't want to be carted from obvious destination to obvious destination by the local tourist company. We wanted a small taste of local life. We took trains, we walked a lot, we sweated, we tried new things. If that hasn't completely put you off, then proceed viewing at your own risk. Tahir Shah wrote in Travels with Myself, "A little imagination goes a long way in Fez." And this is the best description I've found so far for this ancient city and the effects it has on the uninitiated. The Medina, or Old Town in Fez, is one of the world's largest car-free urban areas. It is said to hold more than 9,000 narrow, winding streets with no names that have been luring tourists into their depths for thousands of years. As Iain and I wandered through this labyrinth, stubbornly refusing any offers of assistance from locals, I was struck with the seeming genuine nature of the traders selling and bartering with, well, for lack of a better term, other locals. Now this is what we'd signed up for. To get lost in the mix and become, even just for an afternoon, one of the crowd, witnessing and taking part, not in some show, but simply in life.
So, Iain, what do you think of the Medina?
Funky.
All that being said, tourist attractions are there for a reason. We made time to take in some of what we consider to be the must-see sights in what is often referred to as the country's cultural capital. The tanneries are world famous, and here leather is made in a time-honored tradition that has changed little since medieval times. An insider tip would be, go download the Google Maps app. They have an offline function which is worth its weight in gold when you're trying to negotiate the relentless maze of a Medina without a guide.
So I have a very important announcement. We have successfully navigated the Medina. I say that now. Obviously, check back in later. It could be another update, but what do you think? Masters of the Medina?
Masters.
Aside from the sights and smells of the tannery, we investigated the famous Blue Gate, as well as having a quick peek inside the world's oldest university. Just a couple of the notable sights this city boasts. We took it at a leisurely pace, ensuring plenty of time for coffee breaks, as well as the odd pastry.
Oh, well, what do we think?
Horrible.
And no, not everything is delicious.
Lots and stuff in the souks and everything are closed today because it is a Friday, so maybe if you have a chance, avoid coming to the Medinas on a Friday.
That being said, what a fantastic introduction to life at the crossroads between ancient customs and modern expectations. And of course, after every cultural overload, what better way to cap it off than some local cuisine? Fresh tagine followed by mint tea. It doesn't get much more Moroccan than that.
The mint tea is totally different than what I expected. It's really hot and they serve it in just this glass with literal mint leaves floating around, and it is very sweet. But it is really good. Like, I find it, yeah, it's very Moorish. So, thumbs up to the mint tea. Just coming up to the rooftop terrace to enjoy the sunset in Fez on our first full day. It's been pretty amazing. The heat is crazy and takes a bit of time to adjust to if you're not from a hot country. And yeah, gonna watch the sunset, play a bit of cards. Been a good day.
Enjoying a familiar game with a familiar friend is a delightful way to finish off any evening of exploration, but Fez had one final surprise in store for us to remind us we really weren't in Kansas anymore. The call to prayer. For the indigenous people, it's as familiar as the sunset, but to the foreigner, it can be almost intimidating with its intensity, suddenness, and all-encompassing nature. It was now with great anticipation I looked forward to the following day's 4-hour train journey toward the capital of Rabbat and wondered what further surprises would await.